So the science shows that plant-based diet in its whole spectrum is the diet that is associated with less chronic disease, like obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, some types of cancers, and even mortality.
Hi everyone and welcome to ProVeg Talks. I'm excited to be your host in this journey through the world of plant-based nutrition, food innovation, and all the exciting things happening in the food system. My name is Valentina Gallani. I'm a nutritionist and food technologist, and I work at ProVeg International as Health and Nutrition Manager. If you're new here, in each episode of this podcast, we will cover different topics with guests from several different backgrounds to better understand the relationship between nutrition, health, and sustainability with a plant-based perspective. So whether you're a long-term, long-time plant-based eater or just a plant curious, you are in the right place. If you haven't seen our previous episode, I highly recommend checking it. And joining me today, we have a true sports and nutrition expert, as well as a positive science communicator. In this episode, we will cover different topics from sports nutrition, but also myths around plant-based protein. But first thing first, welcome Lucas Oliveira, nutritionist and part of the ProVeg research team, international, and also ProVeg Portugal. Hi, Lucas, how are you today?
I'm pretty fine. Thanks a lot for having me. I love to talk about that, so it's a pleasure to share some of the things that I'm more excited to study about.
Nice. Thank you, Lucas. And would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a bit more about your work and in general, like your research, your passions.
Sure, yes. Well, I'm a nutritionist. Actually, I'm not Portuguese, I'm Brazilian, but I'm based in Portugal for 6 years.
Yeah.
And before being a nutritionist, actually, I used to be an engineer. But in 2018, I decided to adopt a vegan lifestyle. So, 100% plant-based diet. And I started to studying a lot about that. Because I work out and I do a lot of exercise, and there are a lot of myths regarding this topic.
Yeah.
So then I decided to quit and study nutrition here in Portugal. So I today work as a clinical nutrition. So I give consultation mostly for people that want to adopt a more plant-based diet, and for people that want to improve their performance in any type of exercise.
Yeah.
As mentioned, I work for ProVeg Portugal as a nutritionist, and I recently joined the research team for ProVeg International. So as I used to say, I'm living the dream, working information about plant-based diets and sports nutrition.
Thanks. I love hearing this. Yeah, Lucas, you have a really fascinating background. Like your story is really impressive. And as a passionate runner myself, I love to hear about sport nutrition and plant-based diet. So let's get into the topic of today's episode. The classic question for anyone exploring plant-based diets, and especially athletes, is where do you get your proteins? So can you explain that, like about protein, vegan proteins, and the myth around that?
Sure. Yes, for sure. This is the main question that most plant-based eaters all the time. And I have the opportunity to do my undergraduate thesis about protein quality. So I really love to talk about protein in plant-based diets. And the first thing that I want to say it's that, like, in nowadays everything is like polarized, and in plant-based diets not different, and in plant protein is not different. Some believe that, okay, if you eat whatever you want, you get your protein, or some say that you need to be like protein addict, proteinaholic, and eat protein. So there is it's not like there is a spectrum, so it's not like polarized. We need to be protein focused in a plant-based diet, but it's not a problem, not a reason to be worried at all. And the first thing that I want to say is that all plant proteins have protein, with some exception, for example, oils. But all of the whole foods and even some like healthy processed food, plant food have protein. But of course, we need to know that some of them are protein sources, like more protein rich, and we need to know these sources to include in our meals, in our regular diet. And for example, when a person decides to adopt a plant-based diet and their lunch is like pasta and veggies with like whole legumes, for example, so it can be improved with simple food groups. So the message is all plant foods has protein. You need to know the protein sources and the best protein sources. They are legumes like lentils, chickpeas, beans, lupins, cereals, and their derivatives like pasta, bread, rice, quinoa, couscous, bulgur, and even tubers has a little bit, but nuts and seeds, for example, and processed plant-based foods like tofu, seitan, texture soy, tempeh, and even the novel plant-based meat alternatives like the vegan chicken and vegan meat, something like that. But in general, as I said, when you are eating plant-based, you don't need to look at the meal and think, okay, this is the protein sector. Here, my protein will come from this place. Not at all. All the food components, all the food groups from your meal will contribute from the total amount of protein of the meal. And we can say the same for the total amount of your daily protein intake. But of course, focus on legumes, processed plant proteins, and whole grains, nuts and seeds. Those are the best. These are the best protein sources.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And what makes plant protein unique? Why should people start exploring more this type of food?
Oh, that's a great question. And I have an approach that we need to look at the food, the protein source as a whole package. So I'm going deep in another aspect is the protein quality in a second. You need to consider the whole package of the protein source. For example, beans or tofu compared to meat or chicken and everything. Okay, there is protein in meat and chicken and tofu and beans and etc. But if you check the whole package or the whole food metrics, as we say, of the food, you see that beans comes with like folate, iron, zinc, fibers, polyphenols that are like phytonutrients. They're so been spoken recently. So you need to consider the food package. But there is a downside in this aspect as well, because even these compounds like polyphenols and fiber, they are awesome. We need to focus on them. But these and other compounds can reduce a little bit how well we can digest, can absorb protein from plants, from some, not all, but some plant sources. And then we go to the protein quality. It's a measure used there are some methods to measure it, but mostly consider two aspects of protein. So first of all, it's the quantity. You need to get the right amount of protein for your needs. The second is the quality, and the quality considers the amino acid composition and the digestibility. Our plant foods has protein, besides oils, but all of them. And all of them has all the 9 essential amino acids, but in different levels. So this only means that if you eat only one food group or one protein sources the whole day or the whole week, the whole month, you will be like deficiency in some of the amino acids because it's too low. But in when you have food security, access to food, that's not a reality at all. So you're not going to eat like only rice for the whole day or for the whole week. So there's no such thing as incomplete protein. The best way to say is that some amino acids, some of the bricks of some plant proteins are not in the right amount as our needs. But as I mentioned, if you have a variety diet, that's not a problem at all. So regarding the amino acids, the bricks, We just need to have a diverse diet with different food groups, legumes, whole grains, tubers, and etc. And even if you include like more dense protein, like tofu, texture soy, meat alternatives, seitan, you don't need to worry a lot about the food combination, like to eat legumes and grains and etc. But in the end of the day, looking at your whole protein intake, it's nice to get your protein from a variety of food groups to assure that you get all the essential amino acids. So this point checked. The next point is digestibility. It's a little bit how good the protein you ingest you can absorb, something like that. So some say that plant proteins are has very low digestibility, but that's not true. For most of the plant proteins, like plant sources like beans, lentil, chickpeas, even bread or whole grains, or even tofu, seitan, as I mentioned, plant-based alternatives, their digestibility is from 75% to 95%. And animal products is like 90%. So it's not that low. And if you have the right amount of protein in your day, that's fine. So that's not a problem at all. So to summarize, the recommendations for protein intake from the organizations, it's around 0.8 grams per kilogram per day.
For the general population, right?
Yes, for the general population. Some authors recently suggest that this is not the best number, a little bit more, like 1 or 1.1 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. It's a better approach, and I honestly agree with this. It's not hard to get this.
So exactly, we talk about the general population, but if we are talking about athletes, and honestly, we have a lot of vegan and plant-based athletes out there. What are the best sources for like people enjoying sport or like being a professional athletes, and also what is the difference in the, for example, the daily intake for this type of people?
Yes, great question. There is some differences, and it's funny that you mentioned this, because I had a lot of clients in my consultations that mentioned that they wanted to go 100% plant-based or adopted a plant-based diet and didn't go plant-based because of the myths of protein, like the protein myths, that okay, I will be weak and everything. So in fact, of course, when you are exercising or you are an athlete, depends of the modality, but you need a little bit more protein. And what's the recommendations? It's very wide because of the different modalities for sure, but from 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight per day to or 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. It's the range of protein intake. So from 1.2 to 2.2. But it's important to understand that for most of athletes, for most of people that want to increase your exercise, more close to the bottom, like 1.2 to 1.6, 1.4, it's enough for most people. So we don't need to worry a lot about protein. When you go the situation that we need to go more to the up limit of the range is when you are in a caloric deficit, when you are eating less calories than you need, like for losing weight, for example, and exercising a lot. So to trying to preserve more your muscle mass, you increase your protein, but they're just the case. For most people, around 1.4, 1.6, even 1.2, if you're not lifting weights a lot, it's mostly enough. But there is a thing that I want to mention, that for building strength and muscles, exercise is the main thing. It's the most important thing. Like the stimulus that you put in your muscle, it's the most important thing.
I agree.
So some people okay, I want to to gain some muscles and I'm going to eat like protein shakes and eat a lot of protein, but you're
Yeah.
not lifting weights or doing some calisthenics or doing some exercise. So first focus on exercise, and then worry about your protein. Probably this example, the person in this example is already getting enough protein to build muscles. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
regarding the source for athletes, considering that we need a little bit more protein. Actually, the sources are the same, but you need to increase calories. So together with the calories, the protein will increase as well. So for most people, it will be a natural process to like increasing calories because of the exercise. So then your protein goes up as well. But focusing on more like protein dense foods, protein-rich foods, as I mentioned, like tofu, the more firm the tofu, more protein-rich it is. Like seitan, it's like very low calories and very protein-rich. Texture soy is an amazing protein source with a lot of iron, a lot of fiber, folate. So the package that we mentioned, and tempeh, like is amazing, like a fermentable soy protein. And the new plant-based meat alternatives, and I'm a big fan of these categories. They are improving a lot, and some of them are like fortified with iron and other
Vitamins.
vitamins and minerals. So those are the more dense, protein-rich foods, but legumes as well, whole grains, and as I mentioned, all the components of your meal will contribute with the total protein amount.
So can you give us a bit more like background of what we just said now in terms of science?
Yes. Yeah, honestly, I totally agree. Even if we share some experience, we need to go to the data, not only anecdotes, but we have a lot of good data, and each year we have more and more data about plant-based protein and health outcomes and performance outcomes. So let's break the athletic performance in some parts to explain better. First of all, let's break in muscle mass, like muscle gains, like hypertrophy, like to win muscles. And then we can talk about like endurance performance, like aerobic performance, like for you as a runner. And we can talk about like strength and power, for example.
Yeah.
So the first one, muscle mass. As mentioned, the first thing you need to do is to start lifting weights. Like the volume of lifting weights is the most important thing. Then reaching at least 1.2, but the data shows that 1.6, it's like the reference when you want to gain muscle mass, when you are already training consistently. So I would go for 1.6, but it doesn't mean that you only will gain muscle when you reach 1.6. You start gaining muscle with lower protein intake for sure. 1.6 is a good reference. And what the data shows about plant proteins in plant-based diets and muscle mass, muscle gains. Some studies evaluate plant protein supplements, like plant protein powders. And there are a lot of studies of these with like corn protein, potato protein, soy protein, pea, rice, a blend, a mix of them, and even mycoproteins, it's not plant-based, but fungi-based. So other studies, much better in my opinion, evaluate the whole diet, not only the supplement. And comparing plant-based diets, like 100% plant-based diets, in young people and older people, and a mixed diet with animal products, meat, and everything, they compared not only the muscle protein synthesis, but the muscle volume, like the real muscle gain, not only this, let's put this way. And again, spoiler, no different at all, no difference. So, and they were eating like 1.6, 1.8, 1.7 grams of protein. So these studies debunked another myth that says that you need to increase your protein intake compared to an animal protein diet. So with the same protein intake, no difference at all in the muscle protein synthesis and the muscle mass gain. So for muscle mass, don't need to worry that's not a concern at all, at all.
Can
For
I
the
add one? Can I add one thing? I think this what you mentioned is already a proof of what we said before, that is more important the stimulus that you're giving to your muscle, like the exercise itself,
Yeah,
rather than the type of diet that you have.
totally.
So
You can
this is
put
great.
like in a hierarchy to be like lifting weights, exercise, total daily amount.
Yeah.
Then need to worry the other things like the protein sources, and if you are going to like combine food groups, those like in the bottom of the pyramid of the hierarchy. The first thing is to lift weight consistently and the total protein amount. And it doesn't matter if it's like animal or plant
From
protein
where? Yeah.
in these aspects, so it will be the same muscle gain.
Cool.
Regarding the other two topics, it's even easier to explain because all the studies that compared like uh, strength or even peak performance or jump, a lot of different methods to evaluate like power and strength. No difference with plant proteins versus animal proteins, and no difference when you compare the whole diet as well, plant-based diet and mixed diet, for example. For endurance performance, we have even better news. I think it's a little bit like recent. We need to have more data in this in the endurance part. Most of the studies shows no differences in plant-based diets versus mixed diet. Some studies already showing more benefits for plant-based eaters. VO2 max, it's like for the cardiovascular capacity, let's put this way, to exercise, how well you use your oxygen to exercise. There's some studies that show that plant-based eaters has a bigger marker of oxygen utilization, let's put this way. So I think in the future with more studies, we can have some good points for the plant-based eaters in regard of endurance performance, like running, aerobic exercise. So, and this can be explained mostly because probably a lot of fruits and vegetables, like nitrate-rich vegetables from beets, arugula, they're like vasodilated. They can dilate your veins. So more fiber, maybe less oxidative stress and something like that. Let's see what the science shows in the future.
Yeah, that's a great news for me, given that I'm a runner and
Yeah.
I'm fully plant-based.
You already run
Yeah.
fast, so
I try my best. But yeah, you just said one thing that I feel like is very important. So you talk about performance in general. So as of now, we just mentioned pretty much everything about protein. But when it comes to, let's say, performance, other key nutrients come into play in the game, right? So what are these key considerations regarding, for example, the caloric protein ratio, but also being fully plant-based? It means that you obviously your fiber intake is pretty high. So how does this work with performance?
Great, Valentina. I'm glad that you touching these points because for sure, the first thing, exercising consistently.
Exactly.
Caloric intake, right caloric intake. If you're not eating enough calories, you don't recover well and everything. You don't build muscles. Then the total protein intake, as we mentioned. Then parallel to these points, we need to pay attention to some aspects. First of all, the carb intake, the carbohydrate intakes. For most exercise, our main energy source is the carbs that we already eat, digest, and store in our muscles. So we have like a big storage of carbs in our muscles, the glycogen, as we said, muscle glycogen. So eating the right amount of carbs, it's like crucial for performance, for especially for runners, for like CrossFit practitioners, for muscle gain, for soccer players and everything, football. So eat the right amount of carbs. So there is some idea that, okay, if I need to lose weight, I need to cut carbs and everything. If you are exercising, your performance, your recovery will go down. So that's not a good idea at all. So carb. But there is a type of carbs that it's fiber. Fiber is like amazing. Everyone needs to pay attention to fiber because, well, it reduces the risk of a lot of disease, improve your gastrointestinal function, your glycemic control, reduce your risk of diabetes a lot. So fiber is amazing, but we need to pay attention, because when you increase calories and increase foods in general, for example, beans, oats, whole grain pasta, whole grain bread, and even fruits and vegetables, when you increase a lot of your food intake, your caloric intake, the fiber goes up as well. If you're eating like a healthy diet, a whole, mostly whole food diet, and that's fiber is amazing, but it's not like better. The more the better. Not for some people. Some people can face some discomforts with higher fiber, so like bloating, gas, and even like a very fast intestinal transit. So it can even not be a good thing for exercising, like you feel like discomfort. So for some athletes, maybe going like for white rice instead of brown rice, or eating. So the more the general recommendations with like whole grains maybe can be skipped in some modalities to assure that you're not like overconsuming fiber. So, but it's not hard at all. But so carbs intakes, it's amazing for performance and recovery, but pay attention to the fiber. Fiber is magical, but we need to take care when we eat a lot of food. And I think these are the main ones. I just need to do to say a quick mention to iron. If you have like menstrual flux, if you menstruate and exercise, so exercise, you need more iron. And when you lose blood by menstruation, you have an iron loss. So you need to pay attention to the iron as well. So people who menstruate and exercise intensively needs to take care and look at your iron stores, like the ferritin and the hemoglobin as well.
Yeah, that's great point. And I like that you mentioned this. And in terms of if you think about athletes in general, we see, especially on social media, a lot of marketing around supplements and so on. So do you have maybe one tip or one product that you feel like it's really working, especially for plant-based athletes, that you can mention?
Yeah, can I mention two?
Of course, yes.
Yeah, because the first one is the one that I love, that it's caffeine, coffee. I'm so glad that the most like ergogenic, the supplement, the supplement that has the potential to increase performance is plant-based, that it's coffee. So caffeine, for the ones who like and enjoy coffee, it's amazing for it. Reduce your sense of fatigue, so you don't feel tired. And another one is creatine. Creatine, it's a simple compound of 2 amino acids, and most of the creatine creatine is stored in muscles, so it's animal muscle, in meat. So if you don't eat meat, probably your muscle creatine levels is lower than a person that eats meat. But we don't need to worry, because our brain creatine, it's there. We don't doesn't vary, only the muscle in creatine, so it's not an essential nutrient. We can synthesize enough. But for muscles, it's nice for plant-based eaters, for the athletes in general, but plant-based eaters, to include the creatine supplementation. It's not mandatory. As I said, it's like the cherry in the top of the cake. All the rest needs to be well done, like the sleep, the diet, the exercise, and everything. But you can add like a cherry in the top of the cake to improve your muscle strength and consequently increasing your muscle mass. So creatine is a supplement. It's like synthetic, so it's vegan, and it's the most studied and the supplement with potential to increase performance that has more robust evidence. So creatine and caffeine. There are another 3 of them. It doesn't worth mention a lot, but most of the supplements there over there in the CrossFit box in the gym, we don't have like a lot of good data to back these claims. But the one that I already mentioned actually is the nitrates. These you can have it from beetroots, arugula, pak choi, even lettuce, and there's some data, especially from beetroot concentrate, beetroot juice, that can increase performance, especially for aerobic performance, like runners, even CrossFit, football, soccer players. So it's a good one that maybe we can invest as well.
Yeah, thanks for sharing this. I completely agree. For example, before a long run, I always have a espresso, a coffee. So caffeine works really well for me, and I think for a lot of other athletes. And also specified in that supplements are the cherry on the top of the cake. I think it's very important because a lot of people focus on this type of little tips and not on the whole picture. So I think it's really important what you just said. And so we talk about a lot of things in this episode, and if we want to bring it all together, what's the win-win scenario here? So a plant-based diet can truly be effective for performance, muscle gain as an omnivorous diet, and offer more health benefits.
Yes, that's the point. That's exactly the point. So we can have a diet that's more like environmental friendly, that's like more protective for chronic disease. So many studies that compared plant proteins with animal proteins, plant proteins always runs better for like health outcomes. The studies that compare the whole diets, like plant-based diets, in their whole in its whole spectrum, like 100% plant-based diet, like all vegetarian diets, even like some DASH diets, Mediterranean diet, like mostly plant-based, but not fully plant-based, all of them. So the science shows that plant-based diet in its whole spectrum is the diet that is associated with less chronic disease, like obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, some types of cancers, and even mortality. So adopting a plant-based diet, it's better for the environment. It's the diet that, in their spectrum again, that shows better benefits for health. And it's a diet that does not compromise your athletic performance. So there's no need to worry about adopting a plant-based diet and like being afraid to lose muscle or to decrease your performance. Besides the scientific data, you have a lot of anecdotes, a lot of vegan athletes over.
So given that you are athletes as well, or let's say a sport enthusiast, what is your favorite plant-based meal, like pre or post-workout, if you have one of those?
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can mention a lot of them here. I love to eat. But actually, before answering, I will try to debunk a myth with this question as well. The last one, that it's 2025, and I already see in the gym some guys shaking their protein shake after the workout and drinking. So my point here is that most exercises, for most modalities, you don't need to worry a lot with your pre-workout meal or your post-workout meal. For most of exercises, we can add your protein powder if you use to a oatmeal, to a pancake, to a smoothie, or just have a protein-rich meal. So I always try to debunk this protein intake window after workout. It's not necessary at all. Well, answering the question, as a Brazilian, I love rice and beans. Like rice and beans is like our water. And probably like rice and beans and some protein-rich source like grilled tofu or even some vegan chicken or vegan mince and a big salad. It's for sure my favorite meal to have after working out, even if it's like soccer that I love to play, or running, or even the gym. I used to play like calisthenics and climbing as well, but
everything.
Everything. And then my favorite meal is like a big meal with rice and beans and some protein sources, salad, and an orange juice as well. So yeah, I think if we put my last meal, I
It would
will
be this.
of course choose this one.
Well, simple and cheap, to be honest.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
so that's super. That's really great, and a tip for everybody listening now.
yeah.
Um, so, Lucas, thank you so much. So I think we have debunked a lot of myths around plant-based diets and athletes and protein. But I want you to share, for example, with the listener where they can find you, if you have a page or
Yeah.
LinkedIn, whatever.
Oh, nice. Thank you a lot. Yeah, I love to talk about that. On my Instagram, it's at Lucas FR Oliveira. It's
Mm-hmm.
well, I will not spell it, but I think it's easy to find. And I do some consultation as I mentioned. So I would love to help anyone like in a more individualized way. I really feel bad when some decided to not go plant based because of these myths of
Yeah.
regarding exercise. So I really want to help these. And yes, that's it.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm really happy. And
Thank
thanks
you.
for tuning in to all our listeners for this new episode of ProVeg Talks. If you enjoy, please subscribe and leave us a review. Or if you have any question, you can write us as well. We will get more amazing guests in the future. So stay tuned and stay curious and kind and obviously plant based. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.